The NBA trade deadline is quickly approaching, and it literally seems to be the exact same thing damn near every single year. The Lakers, like last year, they seemed desperate for some type of trade deadline move to completely tilt their season, even though we thought they had a pretty great offseason. For whatever reason, with LeBron and Anthony Davis even healthy, the moves always seem to run its course, where we're back at Rob's desk demanding for another move to be made. The Golden State Warriors dynasty is clearly over, and now reportedly everybody is movable except for Stephen Curry. The Toronto Raptors finally seem to be fully embracing the rebuild as they unload the championship roster piece by piece. OG Anunoby finally got moved to New York for what I thought was extremely solid compensation, getting back Emmanuel quickly too. And now Pascal Siakam is the last remaining piece to be moved, and he's the biggest piece. With all these trade deadline moves that we're likely going to see within the next month, and all the speculations and all the rumors, I want to take a look back at the NBA offseason and how exactly every single move or every single major move is aging so far. Today's video is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, it's definitely my favorite time of year, where we're all pretty much glued to our TV watching our favorite sports. And DraftKings, they always want to maximize your experience, and they're back with an offer that all sports fans would truly appreciate. All new customers have to do is bet just $5 on any wager and instantly get back $200 in bonus bets. It's really that simple. If you're already signed up with DraftKings like myself, you can get a no sweat bet, where you can get a bonus bet back if your same game parlay or your same game parlay X bet doesn't quite hit. If you're a fan of multiple teams and you want to bet on them all, you can combine multiple bets for a shot at a much bigger payout. Head over to the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers use my promo code Swishout, place just $5 on any wager, and instantly get back $200 in bonus bets. That's promo code Swishout, only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Who do you look at around the league as you're studying and say, we're going to have to run through them?
Celtics.
No one in the West?
Nah, I'm fine in the West.
I mean, saying it respectfully, I don't know how teams are going to guard us.
The Phoenix Suns this year, they've been to me one of the bigger disappointments thus far. Now, even with that being the case, it's not like they're out of contention or their season is anywhere near over or they still can't flip that switch as they get healthier and they get more continuity together. Their core guys just haven't played enough games. But so far, they've looked nothing like a championship team, and that's clearly their mission. When new ownership took over in Phoenix, it was crystal clear that he was in an all-in win-now championship mode. They completely shook the NBA last trade deadline, trading valuable pieces to get an older Kevin Durant. KD is obviously great, but they did lose perimeter defense, youth, and depth to get a player like Kevin Durant. Then in the offseason, they really went all in and got Bradley Beal. This immediately gave us all questions about this team's defense, this team's depth, and ultimately how healthy they could really be when it really mattered. All three of these guys have battled injuries in their recent past, and ironically enough, the healthiest one out of the bunch is Kevin Durant, who's actually the oldest. They did shape out the rest of their roster, making savvy moves that I actually liked, adding Grayson Allen, Nurkic, Eric Gordon. But this season specifically, even with all these supposed closers, the Phoenix Suns, they've been inexplicably bad at closing games, which to me is a little mind-boggling. In the fourth quarter this season, the Phoenix Suns have by far the worst point differential, even way worse than the Detroit Pistons. With some of the most efficient individual players on their team playing together, they're one of the least efficient teams in the fourth quarter. In some of these major stat categories, offensively and defensively, they're damn near at the bottom in the fourth quarter. If you look at the Phoenix Suns clutch stats this year, more than half of their games have essentially come down to the wire. And look at how bad they are. Kevin Durant actually has one of the worst plus minuses all season in the fourth quarter. And for a team that's still above 500, that's shocking. In my opinion, this team is going through exactly what the Clippers used to go through, where they really need a point guard, especially in those late game crucial scenarios. Yes, this team has players individually that can get their own bucket, but collectively, how exactly is it translating? As a team, they're like 18th in team assists. They're like 6th in turnovers. They're like 13th offensively, even with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Eric Gordon having crazy efficiencies. Ultimately, this team does have talent, but they still struggle to close games. They're a below average defensive team, and their big three has only played like 7 games together, which was a question mark all year. I haven't really been that impressed. Speaking of now actually having a true point guard, the Clippers, they've been flourishing, and it is special to see the Clippers finally reach what looks to be their full potential. They just have to stay healthy. I definitely had my doubts about this team when they traded for James Harden. I felt bad for Russ, and like everybody, I kind of thought it was a bit unnecessary. But truthfully, now that we have a great sample size of what this actually looks like, and unlike Phoenix, they've been healthy, this is always what Kawhi and Paul George needed. The Clippers this year, their top 5 players this season that actually makes up the majority of their minutes, they're all shooting well over 40% from deep. The Clippers are the most efficient three-point shooting team in the league. 3 of their superstars are all having career years from downtown. And all around, all of their best players are having some of their most efficient years collectively. Even if you look at their so big Zubac, he's benefiting significantly from the spacing and the opportunities created by James Harden. Also, unlike the past, what I love about this team, offensively at least, is how versatile they are. If they want, they can exploit the pick and roll with James Harden and Zubac. Russ, he was always a great facilitator while penetrating, but James Harden can honestly drive, run a pick and roll, and be a valuable catch and shoot 3-point option if need be. Russ, he wasn't that multifaceted. As great as a 3-point shooting team they actually are, they're like 19th in attempts. With how great of a mid-range scorer Kawhi is, they're like top 10 in efficiencies all around the court, not just from deep. Yes, they still play a lot of isolation ball. They lead the league in points and possessions in that category. But with how great their spacing is now, it does bring out the best in all of their stars and Zubac, who's in heaven with his main facilitators being James Harden and Russell Westbrook. And now look at the Lakers. 40 games in, they have the exact same record as last season, and we all thought they were at least winners in the offseason. It seemed like a major W keeping Austin Reeves on that bargain deal, retaining Rui Hachimura, stealing Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince, even Christian Wood. But bro, this team is pathetic, lifeless, and lost. To me, this team, they have little to no continuity with lineups and rotations, and yes, they've battled injuries. But Darvin Ham, to me, he has made critical mistakes, like benching Austin Reeves for way too long, starting Cam Reddish for 17 consecutive games, even though he gives you little to nothing offensively. I love the Gabe Vincent addition in the offseason, but it's like he's doing his Kendrick Nunn impression because he's only played 5 games and we haven't seen him since. Jarrett Vanderbilt gets minutes, but he's such a zero offensively that he can be useless down the stretch of crucial games. Taurean Prince, he has been a lot better shooting as of late, but he takes away critical minutes from Rui Hachimura, and Rui can't really get into a rhythm, and the team just has no flow. I picked this team to be first in the Western Conference, and even with Anthony Davis and LeBron being healthy for the most part, the moves, they're not really working out. They're just not. Out of all the teams in the offseason that made major moves, and it's not really a surprise, I've been the most impressed with the Boston Celtics. The trade of Kristaps Porzingis, it's been a home run, and they still take and make a bunch of threes. I was very critical of their style last year, especially in the playoffs when they relied way too much on that in my opinion. But Kristaps Porzingis, he was the perfect offsetter to that, to give them that additional layer and that reliable threat offensively a little closer to the basket and still not take away defensively to how dominant they've always been. This season with Porzingis, they're second in post-up possessions, and they're one of the most efficient teams while posting up. Look at them last year. They had nobody close to that. Also, Porzingis with Boston, he's 5th in post-up points per game. He's easily number 1 in points per possession out of everybody in that top 10, and he's the most efficient. Also, defensively, Porzingis is still being a game changer. We know since Ime Udoka left, this team has always been one of those top teams defensively. Like, that's nothing new. But this year, they're tied for that top spot with blocks a night with Porzingis. They're one of the only teams that's top 5 offensively and defensively, like always. Porzingis this year, he's top 11 in blocks. He's given up one of the lowest defensive field goal percentage amongst bigs at like 43%. He's averaging a career high 53% from the field, And not to mention, he leads them in defensive rating. Also, what I love about Porzingis, specifically with Boston, y'all remember when he played for Dallas and they kind of made him basically a catch and shoot 7'3" big, and it was like, bro, he's way too big to only be doing that. With Boston, yeah, it's nothing like that. Like, he's averaging his lowest 3-point attempts since like 2018, and 25% of his shots are now at the rim, which is a career high. They're using him right. Also, Jrue Holiday for that team. He's been amazing, still great defensively, doesn't have to do much offensively, but stabilize the offense when need be, and he fits beautifully on both sides. So far, Boston, they have the best record in the league, the best point differential, they're undefeated at home, and to me, they have clearly the best offseason so far. And the Milwaukee Bucks getting Dame. I thought this offseason for Milwaukee couldn't have gone better, getting a player that seemed to fit so seamlessly with Giannis. Chris Middleton, after all those injuries, he can now be a valuable third option. Dame and Giannis, they're going to have this beautiful pick and roll. Dame, he's going to have career highs in efficiencies, like it's going to be so opened up, beautiful, magic, all this. And honestly, I still have my concerns. I'm not going to lie. I'm not that impressed. Now, yes, offensively, they have been great. I don't know if Dame has quite lived up to the hype because his efficiencies aren't quite exactly what I thought they'd be playing with the Giannis and Chris Middleton, but they have been good. But long term, I'm just not sure with how pathetic they've been defensively, and we're just not used to that. All of last year, they only gave up 120 points plus like 21 times all last year. A little under halfway through the year this year, they're at like 20. Yes, they've been great offensively, damn near just as advertised despite Dame's inefficient numbers. But the fact that they have to be damn near perfect offensively to patch up how abnormally bad they are now defensively, it just doesn't sit right with me, especially in the playoffs. Giannis is playing great this year, but he's playing the most minutes he's played in like 6-7 years. I don't like that. If you look at some of his best, most scoring total performances this year, they've needed that. And 2 of his 3 most points this year, they've lost. Their perimeter defense is probably relying on a 33-year-old Jay Crowder to come back and possibly save them. And to me, that's a very sketchy plan. If you guys like this video, make sure you guys leave a like. Let me know in the comment section what trade deadline move you guys would probably like to see. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.